This is my interview with Matthew Dennison. Your drawings have kind of a jittery quality that sets you off balance. They're a little bit edgy. So how did you arrive at this style?
You know, I've been drawing since I was a child, and it's really interesting. That's a good question. I have just always been moving, it's kind of free association. I just draw. I've always been drawing since I was a kid, so I continue to develop this style. And I kind of bring in these ideas of the world into my drawings, like, you know, houses that are tilted or flooding. I'm kind of enamored by just situational things like that are going on in the world. But it's very much stream of consciousness. The drawings, I started drawing and it kind of takes me along. I never know exactly where the drawing's going, which is really exciting. It's kind of like I'm going into a place that I don't know, that I'm really excited and I'm finding out what I'm going to find. And sometimes I'll use people as vehicles in these drawings, or animals, but I'll use people, like I'll put you know, different costumes, or I'll close them in a house. I'm interested in architectural structures and buildings and things like that. I went to the Museum Art School, which is now the Pacific Northwest College of Art.
Because you're from Portland,
Yeah, I'm
right?
from Portland, Oregon. And the art museum, the Museum Art School was connected to the Portland Art Museum for 85 years. And then it broke off and became the Pacific Northwest College of Art. When I went there, it was still connected to the museum, so that was a nice resource.
But you also seem to have a mathematical proclivity.
You know, it's interesting. I'm terrible at math, but in an abstract, free association way, I like to find my way out of shapes and organic things. I like to tread these things through structures, and I like to build things. Numbers throw me off. Math, it's almost like dyslexia.
But you really have a very clear sense of proportion.
That's interesting.
In structure.
Yeah, you know, it kind of feeds off of my interest of, I kind of want to take a building or a person and take it somewhere else, literally and metaphorically. And so I kind of say, well, what if this tree, you know, was processed through this building? And I kind of involve different elements into things, and so that's kind of fascinating to me. But.
Have you always had this style?
Yeah, you know, it's kind of nurtured when it's always been kind of this loopy, strange networking of things. And as I've gone through the years, I've kind of contained it into this narrative. And it was always kind of representational work, not for any particular reason. Some of my buildings can go very abstract, but I always try to put a foundation to what I'm doing. I've always kind of drawn these kind of imaginary people. I write too. I write a lot of poems that I kind of contribute to my work. It all kind of works together. But I come up with words and for myself, me, myself, and I. And I like to create new things.
And who have you been influenced by?
I like some real formal work. I like a lot of the 15th century, like I like 15th, 16th century Botticelli. The German Gerard Richter, I like the fact that he goes from abstract to representational, and I kind of admire that. I like Robert Motherwell, who's an abstract artist, of course. And I'm really interested in different types and the way people approach different things.
Your paintings tell stories.
Yeah.
Are some of these from real life observed?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm really impacted by kind of the world around me. And this new show that I have in Seattle in May is called Connectivity. Well, we're all connected together, and what we do affects the next thing that happens in the world. And I'm kind of loosely using this as a starting point. Kind of based on my other idea of encroachment, that we're all kind of interconnected and we're all responsible. I'm documenting things in my mind about what's going on in the world. I don't want to say they're environmental paintings, but there's a real connection to what's going on, you know, in the world for me in my work. And I use the work to communicate these ideas. It's a way for me to communicate what I feel through the artwork. To me, the paintings are a visual form of writing. And it adds a different element to words.
Do you become consumed with one painting and concentrate on only that one work, or do you work on several at a time?
You know, I work on several at a time. In fact, I get I get power from other pieces, other people, other paintings inform the other painting. Like I'll initiate a body of work, and this new body of work is called Connectivity, and I will start that body, the first painting, and then I'll start another painting because I'm thinking about, well, wait a minute, I've got this idea of this field, and right now I'm working on this kind of like a inner city thing, and so I'll start this field painting, and it will kind of intertwine with the other painting, and I'll kind of work this kind of almost like an orchestra, like a musical, like an orchestra piece, like a symphony, and all the pieces come together and they network together. So it's really putting these different ideas together, and they associate to each other.
So you're composing.
Exactly. I think it's very similar to that. It's like, I mean, I can't tell my story with one painting. A body of work for me personally tells a story. It takes you on a journey. One painting is like a piece of the letter as a piece of the alphabet. So, yeah.
So being an artist is a very solitary thing. Do you enjoy that, and do you listen to music, or do you work in silence?
You know, I do enjoy it. It's kind of my priority. I miss out on things. I'm not much of a social butterfly because I have too much work to do, and I'm an early bird. I get up early. My idea.
How early?
I get up at 6 o'clock every day, or 5 o'clock.
On the weekends?
Yeah. Oh gosh. And I draw, and I do my coffee thing, and it's kind of my ritual. I'm very ritual oriented.
Many of your paintings and drawings seem like they're on the verge of disaster. Did something happen to you that set you on this course?
You know, not so much me, except that what I see about the world around me and what's going on with the world that we have no control of. It's like the painting allows me a chance to communicate this lack of control. It's the one thing that I think art allows us to do, is to gain control of our environment and what we're doing. And it's my way of controlling the outcome. You know, whether it's the problem with animals that are, you know, going on the edge of extinction in Africa, or issues here with wildlife, or the world, the environment, with the weather. The weather is really fascinating to me too, along with the world around me. It's my way to get a handle and bring these things to discussion.
Do you know when a painting or drawing will affect the viewer's emotions, or do you know in what way they will affect their emotions?
You know, that's a good question. Not always. It's funny because it's like kind of once you have something done, it's still in its infancy, but when you open it up and people see it, it's become fully bloomed. Part of the information comes from people that are seeing the work, because they bring information that the work informs how people see things, and often people will see things in the work that I didn't necessarily mean. Like people will see a bear, and you know, or another animal in a painting, and it can just be like a painting of a bear. But to me, it was about a bear that was on a dam. There was a bear that was on Bonneville Dam that they had to shoot, and it was the only bear in all the years on the Columbia River that a bear got on top of a dam, and they had to shoot this bear off for protection. But when you see the painting, it's just a bear. But to me, it was a homage to this bear that was that had encroached on this dam. But yeah, people see different things in the works, and that's kind of interesting. And I'm always happy to talk about the piece, but I also want people to bring themselves to it. I mean, if somebody,
an interpretation.
Yeah, exactly. It definitely is a set meaning, but it also has this kind of ambiguous quality too. Some of the work, definitely.
Tell me about the faces in your paintings. In some ways, they have emotion, but they also have this stoic quality about them. And I know something's brewing. Are these faces, are they you in some aspects?
You know, I think they are. They're very much kind of a version of myself. I like the depiction of emotions on faces, and I think the faces kind of are the receptors of a work, of a body of work. They really kind of give the work an extra meaning. In a lot of ways, they're very much self-portraits, you know. in a way. I like this sense of mystery of what's going to happen next.
Yes, they look mysterious.
Yeah, and I'm interested in that because there's a little bit of the unknown, and I kind of always want to know what the next thing is.
The work also seems like it's from another time. So what era do you relate to the most?
You know, I am interested in memories and personal histories, and I do kind of look back in order to look ahead. I'm interested, I think, toys, old toys, and old artifacts.
But like what era?
Probably, I would say probably the 30s and 40s are really a big interest to me. It's a real hodgepodge of information that I draw from.
There's a mix because they look old in a way, but also they look very modern.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, interesting.
I think they have a very good balance.
Oh, wow, interesting.
Of those two things.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I know I really am thinking about the past in one sense, but I'm also thinking about the future and what the ramifications are by what we do.
Do you feel like it's important for people to view your work, or is it enough just to do the work?
And the finish of my work is the showing of the work, because that's when I can actually say, this is done. I mean, I think it's important that work be seen. And I think that, especially if you're trying to tell a story, I'm trying to communicate my ideas, and part of the pleasure about doing my work at the end is to show the work. And more I realize that that's important to me. I used to be kind of guarded about, I wanted to show the work, but I realize you can't have your cake and eat it too. If you're going to do the work, you need to push the work forward, and you need to inform as much as you need to learn. And part of the visual art for me is as a template for information, and I'm interested in communicating. And the ultimate, when the work is finished, to me, when it reaches the different plateau, either a low plateau or a high plateau, whatever the plateau is, it's when it's hung up in the gallery. That's when the work is. That's when the information is at its full embodiment.
So I would be amiss if I didn't ask you about the food portion of this interview. It is called Eye of the Feast, after all. I traveled from Seattle to Portland, so I brought you a cake. You requested a white cake with chocolate frosting. So why did you request this cake?
Well, it's funny, Mimi, when you said, well, what would you like as far as a cake? And I just about fell out of my chair. I thought, wow, how sweet, no pun intended. My mom used to make me cake. It goes back a long way.
So it's a comfort thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought that was very sweet. It was kind of almost like an offering.
If you had a chance to make your own mysterious crop circle, what would be the theme or shape?
I think if I were to make a crop circle, it would be
which is mysterious in itself.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good question. I would probably do a figure, embracing like going somewhere. I'd do this giant figure in this imaginary outfit, and like moving across in movement. So it'd almost be like somebody en route, like walking, like going somewhere. And they would have this imaginary, and they would be carrying a bag. And they would be going forward, and they'd probably have really these really high boots on.
Matthew, thank you so much. It was a complete pleasure interviewing you.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Mimi. I appreciate what you're doing, and I think it's great, and you're helping inform people, and thank you for asking all these really good questions.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.